And now it's time for Time Handled with Prime Daniels.
And this episode of Time Handled with Prime Daniels is about interracial dating.
Interracial dating. The black man, he doesn't really care. He could be dating an Asian woman, a white woman, an Indian woman. It doesn't really matter to him, and that has a lot to do with men having like less standard than the woman. I'm talking for black people for sure, which is probably a bad thing, but I think that's what causes the comfort for the black male, because he's not sitting up here trying to nitpick at every little thing about why his happiness should be relevant to other people. And with a black man, he's just gonna do what make it. Black men, the heterosexual ones, they're so comfortable with what they do with women that it like I said, it don't matter to them. Whereas with a woman, the black woman, you're not going to really see her dating outside of her race. She's not going to really be dealing with a Caucasian male, a Chinese dude. I mean, she may want to do like a little fling with a dude, a co-worker from the job who's a cute looking white boy, or, one of them interracial, biracial looking guys from a movie or something that she just has this thing for. But as far as her really settling down with that, it ain't going to happen. Slim to none.
Okay, so I already can see a lot of y'all at home trying to say, oh, no, that ain't true, because my one friend had brought somebody to a cookout 3 years ago, and the dude was white, and they were still together, and blah, blah. I think we can all find an example of anything, even if it's a small percentile. Even if we want to play devil's advocate, or if we want to just feel like we have it. So let me make this more fundamental. When I say black women don't date white men, for the black women watching this, if you have a boyfriend, is he white? Okay? Let me give this a little bit more rope. For your black female friends who you hang out with, if they have a boyfriend, is he white? Okay? Or if you have a boyfriend, is he Asian? Is he Colombian? Is he someone who we would look at funny if he said the N-word? Okay, is that the boyfriend that you have? And black men are willing to date someone who we would look at funny if they said the N-word. You know what I'm saying? Black men date white women. They date Asian women. They do that. But for women, you guys don't do it. So I want to break that down even more fundamental for the naysayers who want to sit up here and try to tell me I may not know what I'm talking about, because you can go and find an example somewhere in North Dakota or wherever you can find it. Okay, let's just make it simple. Let's look at our own circles. Are you dating outside of your race, to my black women?
So when it breaks into the different genders being mad, like a black woman being mad at a black man, or a black man being mad at a black woman for dating outside of the race, I think black women get bothered by it because, again, men don't care, but black women get bothered by it because men are so comfortable with doing it, and they aren't comfortable with doing it. So for them, it's kind of like, how you gonna get to play that field? The numbers are already just weighing in a man's favor in general. So on top of that, you're now about to break into that different ethnicity of dealing with Asian, white, and all these other different type of races. And it's so interesting, like when black women get mad about, men dating outside of their race. Again, I know a lot of people who are watching this are kind of, I don't care what a dude do, but let's look at like the Trump, the A1 guys that we see, the big successors that we all know about. When you see them out there on Instagram, on television with a Caucasian, how you gonna disrespect a black woman? The man don't even know you. He don't know that he's disrespecting anybody. He's doing something that makes him feel comfortable. And with that situation, him and his woman is at peace with it. And that's all to it. And the irony of it is, when women get upset about that, it's interesting simply because they have so much negative to say about the black male for the most part. How behind we are, how we lack whatever, how we don't have this, how we aren't where we need to be right now currently in life. And that's a bit unfair. And especially for you women, the black women, y'all are doing really well. And in a lot of cases, men ain't doing what y'all doing, because you kind of set in stone coming out of high school and especially college knowing what you're going to do. Whereas with men, we're inspired by so many different things, and we try to try these endeavors, and they may not pan out the way we thought. So that in itself could be a setback to some degree, or whatever it is. But it's unfair to sit back and say how behind the black male is unless he's just not doing that. Now, if he's sitting on his butt not doing that, then I guess he's behind. And that should be why you want to date away from your race, since they're so behind.
Okay, so with me talking about men and their endeavors, this is not me making excuses for men who aren't doing anything. Again, there are some men who sit on their butts and don't do nothing. Obviously, those are people who have no aspiration. There's some women who do that as well. But for the men, again, this isn't me making excuses, it's just the reality of it. And for these men, they're big dreamers because from their perception, when they watch these things, they probably saw someone who it worked for. So they felt like I can be a special person who it works for as well, and they try it. And when that does happen, in a lot of cases, people are, not to tie too deep away from the topic, but people will get on them about how long are you going to do this until you find something else, and then blah, 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 blah. So this is just what goes on with them. They have different aspirations from what a woman does. Women, your dreams aren't like one that people would look at as unreasonable. So if a guy just says, I want to go to the NFL, I want to be a rapper, I want to be, even their own mamas would be like, you might want a backup plan. But for a lot of women, you're like, oh, I want to go and be a nurse. It's very reachable. Just finish up school and pass your labs or whatever you have to do. It's one of those things that if you get the correct credential, you can make it. With some of the aspirations that men go for, it's not about having the correct credential. You need that. You do need it, but you also need to be able to have just the right form of luck or God's will, which is the way I like to look at it. So that's what I mean by that statement. Make no mistake, this is not making excuses for men who ain't doing what they need to do.
And with men, they don't really care with you doing it simply because, like, you might see a dude who come and like hate on you a little bit, or hate, like, so say if you're dating a white guy, he might come and say something negative just to kind of be negative because he want to have sex with you real quick. But his energy doesn't lie on being infuriation that you're dating outside of the race. He don't care. That was never really on his mind. No way. And with women who have when they have problems doing it, it's usually for like the wrong reasons. It's not about them being like your happiness should trump all. But with them, in a lot of cases, they're influenced by their peers. A lot of their homegirls who really don't even really like them in the first place. She talking bad about you, and Instagram, she don't tag your name, and she don't like you for real. You're trying to impress or make weight the correct way with like your mom or other people who don't matter. When it comes to that, it's what you do. The color of the skin is just what it is. If somebody makes you happy in the way you feel you need to be provided for, that's that. And I also hear a lot of black women love to say, oh, he like doing that because she a pushover. He could do what he want to do with her. It ain't so much as her being a pushover or too submissive. But I will say this, speaking as a man and as a working man, I would like to be with somebody who's not finna challenge stuff that I feel shouldn't be challenged. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, providing the way I need to, and being the best man that I know I can be, what's the problem? So if you look at that as someone outside of the race being too submissive, then that's just going to be what it has to be. But me personally, I'm not trying to be with someone too submissive. I'm trying to be with somebody who coexists with me, the yin and the yang, if you will. That's what makes me comfortable, and I think that's what makes all men comfortable. So if less controversy means a woman she's too submissive because she's less controversial, well, give me a woman that's too submissive then, any day. And also with black women, they like to be able to kind of show what they got going on as far as a relationship. That's like 35-40% of it, is to be able to expose, oh, this is who I'm with, this is what I got. And ideally they didn't have to be able to show off a white guy. Nothing against the white dudes, but that's just not what they had in mind. So for them, it ain't a big deal like that. They want to be able to have this thing that fits the entire image of what it is, and certain things they can compromise on, but with it being outside of the race, that's just kind of one of them things they're not willing to. And again, they may be some like, no, I don't mind talking to a white dude, but how many of y'all, just think about it, for the women and even the men watching this, of all the black women in relationships, how many of them are with white guys? How many? I'm listening. It's seldom. It doesn't happen often.
Okay, and final interjection, let's be clear, people. My preference is black women. I love black women. Would I date a white woman or someone who's another ethnicity? Absolutely, I would. I would date whoever made me happy. But preferably, it's an African-American woman. Also, there is no bashing in this video about black women. I'm saying what I feel the perspective of black men and black women are. I'm not saying anything negative about the female gender, more importantly, the black female gender. So if y'all are gonna create that, that's on you. And another point real quick before we get out of here is I just did 2 videos before this, both basically coming at the male. One could view those as male bashing videos, if you will. Women, you were very complimentary of those, and even the men were complimentary of it. So I would ask that same, not respect, but just level of insight and fairness That's the most important thing, fairness. I got nothing but love for y'all. A lot of y'all I be sending it to is my homegirls forever, women who I used to talk to or whatever. We're all friends. This is not me bashing the black female. Black female, I love you.
So again, I think it's not really like black women don't have the liberty to go outside and do what it is they truly want to do. Whereas with men, it ain't even that they taking it amongst themselves to have like liberty and I'm gonna make a stand for my biracial dating, and he just don't care. It doesn't matter to him what someone else thinks about his happiness, and that's where a man is actually winning at, because his happiness is his happiness. Take me for an example. I lost my virginity to an overweight girl. And back then I was 16 years old and I was an athlete. So at the time, I didn't want people to know that, because it wasn't cool that the basketball star or whatever I thought I was at the time was out here yelling big chicks. Whereas with me today, I let the world know I like big women, because I don't care about someone else judging or critiquing what makes me happy or comfortable. It is what it is, and that's the way it should always be for all people. That's how you be at peace. My name is Prime Daniels, and that's been your Time Handle with me.
And next week on Time Handle with Prime Daniels.
All right, the 5-year plan. Fellas, how many of you have been dealing with a lady, and when you're talking to her, because you're going to talk about what you do for a living. Like when you first meet her, she's going to find a way to bring up, and ask you, where do you work? And after you let her know what it is you do with your job and occupation, some time goes by, and then she says to you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I'm going to tell you what that means.